Today we're going to talk about the traditional ALP lessons and the standard ALP lessons and how they line up. So let's get started. I am Kathy Graham, and I am an ALP tutor just like you. I have been tutoring for 5 years, and I was originally trained using the traditional lesson plan format and the Wilson materials. I am also Wharton Gillingham trained, and I am a mom of 3 very busy teenagers. If you haven't had a chance to view Carolyn Walsh at the October Impact event, her video speaks to the how and why of standard lesson development, how the standard lessons came to be. I encourage you to watch that video. The main takeaways that I noted from her presentation are that standard lessons are prepared and planned ALP lessons, that they ensure a consistent, high-quality student learning experience for every kid. There is a huge unmet need of students that need to be served by ALP, and standard lessons are going to help reduce those barriers to recruiting more tutors and to reaching more kids. Standard lessons help tutors streamline, manage, and execute the tutoring process. And then standard lessons shift that tutor's focus from planning and materials to the student. So for this presentation, we're going to focus in on how the standard lessons line up with the traditional lesson plan format and materials, and how an ALP tutor is still an important part of that reading intervention. Here's what I see. Traditional lessons, the tutor uses a scope and sequence with aligned materials to create individualized lessons for one student following an ALP lesson format. Standard lessons, on the other hand, the tutor uses pre-written lessons that follow that very same scope and sequence and ALP format. The lessons were created using the same trusted aligned materials, and they were developed by trained and experienced tutors. So what you get with a traditional lesson, every lesson is going to be different. The tutor ultimately determines when the concepts are introduced. The intervention can be variable from tutor to tutor, and the tutoring is highly individualized, and the relationship is certainly very valuable. With standard lessons, you get a more consistent lesson. The lessons are measurable, the concepts are introduced systematically, the intervention is predictable, the tutor weaves in individual support as needed, and the relationship continues to be very valuable. So what I've done is I've taken lesson 8.1, where we're introducing and teaching the new concept, the digraph CK, and I have superimposed all of the information from a standard lesson into a traditional lesson plan format. So here's what you have. Here's all of the concepts, the letters, the words, activities that are going to be completed within a standard lesson superimposed into that traditional lesson plan format. So starting with activity 1, phonological awareness. You're going to complete a phonological awareness task with the standard lesson. The really neat part is the standard lesson uses the Alcoden boxes with tokens. It's a multisensory activity, and the skills are very systematically taught to become, they begin at simple tasks and build to much more complex phonological awareness tasks. And I have found these to be excellent activities with the kids I've been teaching. So you still have the visual quick drill with step 2, just like in a traditional lesson format. You'll see that it's here right there in your standard lesson. Then you have the review and introduction of new concepts. And this is a part of the lesson planning for me that would take a large amount of time, because I would toil over which words to pick and make sure that I was going back and weaving in concepts that we had covered previously within the scope and sequence. So the standard lesson plan already does that for me. The words are chosen, the concepts that were taught are reviewed in every lesson, and then there's also the information needed and included for me to teach the new concept within that standard lesson. So there's what that standard lesson new concept looks like. You'll see the student page. You'll see the song that we sing with that digraph CK. You'll see all of the different information that the tutor will share with the kid. Word cards, same step. So the word cards are in the standard lesson book. You go through and you read through them. The neat part with the standard lesson is that the vocabulary is already included with visuals for that vocabulary building opportunity. Then you have your word list. So these are the words that are in the standard lesson. I've just put them right into what the traditional lesson format looks like. And this is what it's going to look like for you in the standard lesson. And again, that vocabulary and those visuals are included within the standard lesson, which is a really great way to build vocabulary. This goal on this one, again, is going to be to read that list 3 times, focusing on accuracy and fluency. So in the standard lesson, a sentence is included to work on that same concept. Support for the tutor is included to help with the child's fluency as they develop and read those sentences. Then there's lesson breaks included. So in the tutor training of the standard lesson, you will have all kinds of ideas of lesson breaks, quick movement activities that you can do with your kid to kind of get them re-engaged with the activity. I personally like to use this time as a way to get up, move, and then also review concepts that I know my particular student is having trouble with. So we have jumped on different digraph sounds that occasionally still the kid makes errors with. We do activities with B and D. We've made our bodies become a B and a D. We do a lot of vowel discrimination activities that we're up and we're moving and we're standing on and looking for different vowel sounds or making our hand signals. Great opportunity for a lesson break and a way to individualize. So you see here steps 7 and 8 of the traditional lesson plan format. They are included in your standard lesson, and you are going to complete them just the same way with your magnet board that we have always done with our traditional lesson. The words are there included for you, again, weaving in concepts that were taught in the past and also including vocabulary to help build those skills for the kid. And then written work. It is included as well, and it is done in the same manner as dictation work, where we're dictating the sounds, words, the high frequency word practice opportunities with air sky writing, and then we work on sentence dictation. And that's what the standard lesson looks like. You'll have the big visual of the high frequency word that is introduced, and yeah, there it is. It's awesome. So, and finally, every standard lesson will include a decodable passage for you to read with your kid that will reinforce the concept that was taught. Then there is lesson planning for the next lesson after you have collected your data and determined whether you're going to repeat that concept or you're going to move on. And that brings me to this part, because I find this to be a game changer for me as a tutor. I love the part where we have data to help reinforce decision-making as we introduce new concepts. So no longer am I getting stuck in a concept and trying to determine, is it time to move on, or are we at a place where the kid understands it enough to move on and we can review as we move through new concepts. So that data collection, we will use the 2 targeted words that you see highlighted there, and we're going to collect data on that concept CK. And there are 10 opportunities throughout the standard lesson for you to collect data on. If the kid scores 8 out of 10, showing you that they understand how to decode and encode that new concept, then you move on. And if they don't, then you go back and you reteach that lesson. There's going to be a new lesson provided for you to do that. And then we have a benchmark that is completed periodically. It's an important feedback tool for me as a tutor. It informs me the concepts that my student is generalizing. And then also, if they are not, then it gives me an opportunity to go back and reteach that concept. So why is the ALP tutor still important? Because we certainly are. So an ALP tutor is going to know those multisensory techniques that are so important for teaching reading and helping reinforce these emerging reading skills. We're going to be using our tapping and smearing. We're going to be swooping under the words. We're going to be referring to the student notebook. We're going to be singing the songs and all of the different techniques that we use. An ALP tutor is going to know when a student needs more support and instruction, and we're going to know how to weave it in and make sure to help review and support as we are continuing to teach new concepts. An ALP tutor is going to have access to continuing education and ongoing opportunities to improve our tutoring skills with built-in links within these standard lessons. An ALP tutor is going to be able to focus on executing a great lesson and then building a relationship versus spending a lot of time planning. And why I personally appreciate and use the standard lesson? Well, standard lessons have certainly taken the planning time and uncertainty out of lesson planning for me. The lessons follow that same tried and true format. They use the same proven materials and teach the same foundational skills needed for improved reading. And then I know that when I provide a high quality, predictable lesson that yields positive outcomes, that I'm building trust within my school community. And I really like that. And honestly, the bigger picture for me, guys, is that standard lessons are allowing me to tutor more students. I can help more kids read better and succeed in school. And the standard lessons are allowing me to recruit more tutors to become ALP tutors. The ask is way more manageable and the results are so positive. So, in a nutshell, standard lessons are allowing me, one tutor, to make a greater impact because I can serve more kids and recruit more tutors. And that, to me, is affecting change. So guys, standard lessons for trained seasoned tutors are going to be offered this coming August. And we look forward to sharing the standard lesson plans and materials with you. Thanks so much for spending some time with me and listening.